What is poetry? According to Edgar Allan Poe, poetry is the rhythmical creation of beauty in words. Poetry has always been a big part of my life. It has both helped me through some of my most difficult times, and it has shown me how to keep my happy memories recorded forever on paper. Poems are important to me, and as such, I would like to show you my journey with poetry, some of the different styles of poems, and what defines good poetry through demonstrating to you how to write a poem in 3 easy steps. Step 1 is selecting the topic or genre and style of your poem. William Wordsworth once said that poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes origin from emotion, recollected, and tranquility. Your topic is important because it will show your readers what you care about, what your emotions are. I have put poetry into 3 broad topics. First is physical. As a child, I wrote mainly about pets, friends, and places. This was very what you can see, what you can look at. And then as I got older, I started writing more emotionally based poems, especially when I hit my teenage years, and I started writing a lot of love poems. I thought it was really deep stuff at the time, but looking back, it was really terrible. And then finally, experiential poems. Lately, I've taken to writing about current and past experiences in my life. This is a really broad topic as it relates to almost anything you have interacted with. It can be memories, it can be childhood, it can be like the weather outside, or a hobby like writing. And that's what I've chosen to make our poem about today. Next, we have to look at the style. When you think of poetry, do you think of long ballads or short limericks? Do you think of strict rhyming or free verse? Do you prefer sonnets or epics? There are over 15 different types of poems. This can be overwhelming to new poets. But for simplicity's sake, and because I'll lose your attention if I go off on a rant about different styles of poetry, I'll be using a simple A-B rhyming technique. But you have to realize that there's so many fascinating types of poetry out there, and I'd encourage you to go look at all of them. So the A-B rhyme. The first and the third lines rhyme, and then the second and the fourth lines rhyme. For example, here's a poem from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Saw how those lines rhyme with the opposite, or the next line, skipping over one. Step 3 is determining poetic devices. Now that we have our topic, our style, and our rhyme scheme, is that it? What makes poetry real poetry? What brings in the emotion to make our words more than just sentences that sound kind of similar because you've rhymed them? On a website about poetry, Melissa Brinks writes, poetic devices infuse literal meanings, what words actually say, with figurative meanings, implications, unexpected connotations, and so on. In this poem I wrote when I was probably 10 years old, I used a poetic device called alliteration. I'll read you this poem. When the willows whispered with one another, and the majestic moon made magnificent light, while society slept soundly and snored away, snowflakes fell, falling, fluttering, glittering to the ground. Now, I used alliteration too much in this poem, but you can see that alliteration is the repetition of usually initial consonant sounds in 2 or more neighboring words or syllables. I got that definition from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and I feel like they put it really well. And so instead of using this poetic device again, I want to use a poetic device called an analogy. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, an analogy is a comparison between things that have similar features, often used to help explain a principle or idea. And according to a website about literary devices, an analogy is more extensive and elaborate than either a simile or a metaphor, both of which I assume you've heard about before in your English classes. So in our poem that we'll write today, we'll compare the act of writing our topic, to something adventurous. Now we've reached the final step to the process of writing a poem, that is, to actually write it. So earlier I sat down and, taking our topic, our style, and our poetic device, I composed this short poem. I'll read you the first stanza. The last thing I ever did was write. The ink on my desk was a weathered ship as it rode o'er the sea one last time. The pen was the wheel I held in my grip, and the words were the waves crashing in rhyme. Soon every board started to quake as the ship lifted anchor and went, and the wood beneath my feet started to shake, but it rode to where the heart sent. As the ship crashed over the salty waves, it came to a strange-looking sight, 1,001 watery graves, but the future never looked so bright. So I laid my tired pen to rest and closed the ink for today. I had written the words and had done my best, and my tired spirit floated away. In conclusion, poetry can be as simple or as complex as you want to make it. As Jessica Brody said, don't be afraid to write crap, because crap makes great fertilizer. The only way you'll become good at poetry is by practicing. Poems have always been important to me, and through these steps of finding a topic and genre, determining the style and rhyme scheme, and setting up poetic devices, poetry can become special to you too. Thank you.